right, hang in there. We have a congressman I think is going to be a rock star, but ahead of him, from fuzzy math to dizzy math, the White House now counting any jobs, getting any stimulus money as like new jobs. Amanda Carpenter pointing out that the new plan is coming after the original plan of counting jobs created or saved wasn't adding up, maybe because it was made up. Anyway, Amanda is with the Washington Times. Amanda, what's this new math they're using?
Well, OMB Director Peter Orszag issued a very little notice memo last December saying that the White House was going to have a new way of counting jobs and that they weren't going to look at jobs created or saved anymore. They're going to look at the number of jobs that are being funded. So that means that jobs that maybe were never in jeopardy would now count towards the government's bottom line. There's at least one Republican that's very upset about this, Congressman Darrell Issa, who's from California. He thinks this is a way for the administration to inflate their jobs numbers to make them look better. I talked to the OMB this afternoon about this. They say, listen, we had to simplify this process and make it easier. But either way, it's a departure.
But you're making stuff up. You're saying that money that would be, let's say, earmarked, bad word, for jobs that would get money via stimulus as already being created and done and new, right?
Well, I don't think they're making things up. They're just, as the OMB told me, they're using a new definition. No matter how you look at it, it's a departure from counting jobs that are created or saved. They're looking at jobs that are funded. And one of the things that Darrell Issa is asking for the recovery.gov website to be updated so it simply says jobs funded instead of created or saved, because the difference is that jobs that were never in jeopardy are now counting towards the government's bottom line. So the website probably should be changed to reflect that.
You're a lot smarter than I am, but I'm looking at this as saying, in order the way we count jobs in this economy is gained is we go from someone who didn't have a job to someone who does, or a new job, just a new job that wasn't there before. We seem to be going through verbal gymnastics here to define what that is.
Right. Well, here's the thing. The government watchdog agency, the Government Accountability Office, came out and issued a study last November saying these are subjective reporting requirements, which is very hard to, as a lot of people said in the run-up to this, it's very hard to determine if a job is saved. And so they suggested, listen, just look at the jobs funded. So OMB is arguing they're simply complying with that. But regardless, I mean, the jobs numbers will be changed. Right. And now when we look at recovery.gov, we have to talk about jobs funded, not created or saved.
Just glad Peter Orszag got back to you because they looked preoccupied for a while. Amanda, thank you very, very much. Amanda Carpenter.
Thanks.
All right, so we've been saying it for months. The AP just confirming it. Stimulus money for roads and bridges is doing squat for the actual unemployment rate, employment itself. The AP comparing 700 counties that are getting money to 700 counties that are not getting money. And you know what? No difference. Nada. Zilch. Zippo. That doesn't surprise Utah's Republican congressman, the guy I call the cheapest man in Washington, Jason Chaffetz. He voted against the stimulus bill. In fact, you still sleep in a cot in your office?
Yeah, surprisingly well. I'm almost embarrassed by how well I sleep on it, yeah.
I always think it's like an Animal House deal. You're surrounded by old Frito-Lay bags of stuff and some Diet Cokes.
Well, we have mice in the office, and that's probably from the spilled popcorn, but yeah.
But to bring people up to speed on who you are and what you're about, the reason why we got a kick out of you is that you don't vote for any pork, any bacon. You go back to your constituents and say, I didn't build you a hospital, a road, a bridge, a highway, nothing. I don't want my name on anything. And they love you for it.
Oh, if they wanted somebody to bring home the pork, they elected the wrong guy, and they ought to fire me, because I did not go back to Washington, D.C. to try to fund some parking lot to move shoppers from one mall to the other. I mean, that's why we're $12 trillion in debt and why we fundamentally have to change the way government operates. It's just, we've got to understand the proper role of government and then apply that. We're not doing that. Congress is not making
some of your colleagues, Democrat and Republican, quite happily take pork to go home for bragging rights to their constituents. Say, see, look what I did for you.
I think that's the wrong equation, and I think more and more Americans are going to stand up district by district and be held accountable for all this overspending, because the debt and the deficit will have a tremendous impact on their quality of life.
And we should say you ran on this credo of I'm going to do squat for you, essentially.
I said I refuse to go into debt. If I don't raise the money, I'm not going to spend it in my own campaign.
So what did you say you would do?
Well, I said I'm going to work to change the way we do business in Washington, D.C. I wanted to fight for fiscal discipline, limited government, accountability, and a strong national defense. And each time we get a question before us in Congress, we ought to apply it against those 4 principles and see if it has applicability. If not, don't do it.
So you've become a bit of a rock star in the Tea Party movement, but there's a bit of angst between that movement and traditional Republicans. I mean, where do you fall on this? Are you afraid about a civil war developing?
Well, I was pretty clear. And in my own campaign, I said, look, Republicans had the House, the Senate, and the presidency. In many ways, they blew it. Our country didn't suddenly wake up and become liberal. No, they actually are a very conservative nation. When they woke up that morning, they said, hey, you know what? We've got to change the way we do business. But not this liberal agenda that you see with Obama, but get back to those core conservative principles. That's what we got to do.
So the money that you're saving your constituents or the nation as a result on not getting a house in D.C. or doing any of that stuff, I mean, what do you hear back?
Well, that helps the Chaffetz family, but I think it personifies the attitude that you approach to it. It's
well,
not.
Many of your constituents offered vacation homes in the area for you to stay at.
I've had an array of offers. Even one guy.
A sofa. Or
that guy got mad at me because I didn't have the nicest cot. He got mad at me because I had this cot that I picked up at the grocery store, and he was upset with me about that. It was pretty funny.
All right. So when your staff comes in the morning, are you still snoozing? Or
well, we have a window. We have a no. Look, I work till 1, 2 in the morning, get up at 6 or so, and just keep going. And staff has to leave a little bit earlier. They can't come in before a certain hour. And I do shower. I go down and take a shower.
That's good.
Just so you know.
Yeah, that would be a problem because we're fairly close here.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder, because I've heard from some of your colleagues, Republican and Democrat, I was kind of playing with you before, who don't like you. And they don't like you because I sense you're not going along with the way the game is played. So do you accept food from these guys? If so, do you have a food taster? Anyone pre-screening your coffee? Anything?
No, you know what? Actually, Leader Boehner's been very good to me. And the very first time the conference got together, he had me stood up and I said, I'm here to tell you that I'm your worst nightmare. Because there are guys just like me all across this nation who don't need big money to win a campaign.
Actually, there are only a couple of you in the House right now.
Well,
do you think it's going to start a fire?
Again, normally it's about big name ID plus big dollars equals big victory. And I argue, no. Good old-fashioned hard work, an adherence to principle, that's what's going to create victory. And that's what we need to do as Republicans. And that's going to take effect, I think, on both sides of the aisle.
Are you cheap in general at home? I mean, personally, are you a cheap guy?
Yeah, it's just a simple thing.
It's an admirable quality, Congressman. I'm not.
Don't spend more than you make. And that seems to be met in Washington, D.C. with, come on, that's not the way we do that. No, you don't understand. And that voting card we get in the United States Congress is the most dangerous credit card on the face of the planet because there doesn't seem to be any consequence to overspending. So
you voted against stimulus?
Yeah. Oh,
what are the spending programs that you have voted for?
Well, I voted against just about every appropriation there was. I think for the veterans, I supported that because I don't think we're spending enough when it comes to
they pressure guys like you when they roll that sort of thing into stimulus. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, the omnibus bill was the omnibus bill was the most egregious of all.
What did you do with that?
Oh, just vote no. It's easy. I mean, you start from the premise
But a lot of veteran stuff was tucked in that.
Hey, you know what? I think the veterans appreciate our armed.
No, your opponent's going to go next night and say, "Hey, you voted against veterans." People know the skinny and the truth.
Yeah.
But how are you going to bring that out?
Because I believe that the facts and the principles are on my side. I'll say, bring it on. And we talk about policy and principle. I'll beat them every single time. I don't care if they're Republican or Democrat, because we're rooted in principle. And that's what this party has to do in order to be successful.
Harry Reid, the comments, the racial comments, you think he should resign, as some of your colleagues say, because of that?
I'm glad he apologized. The Democrats, if that's the best person they can put up, it's their choice, and the voters in Nevada. Albeit me, I'm a freshman Republican in Utah. But
you have issues with his big government spending, not what he said a couple of years ago.
Look, the American people want us to elect people who do what they say they're going to do. If you can just meet that goal, I think we'll be very successful. And I don't think Harry Reid can answer that question.
All right. Well, we got a little picnic basket to take back to Washington because we feel for you.
I can't take it. I can't take it, but I'll pay for it.
No, it's Reese's peanut butter cups. It's on us. But very good, Congressman. There are 434 like you in the House and 100 in the Senate. We probably wouldn't have these problems. Very good.
Thanks, Sam.
Very good.
Appreciate it.